Hi, my name is Perfect. I'm Ugandan. I was born and have family in Kabale, but grew up in an orphanage in Jinja. Growing up in institutional care was not a good experience for me, and I've always strongly believed that children should be brought up in a family setting if possible, and that more should be done to trace the families of those children in care.
Apparently, the government is now doing more to make this happen, so I've decided to visit some childcare institutions to see how things have changed since I was growing up. It is estimated that there are over 600 orphanages operating in Uganda, and that number is continuing to increase. Just 40 of these are registered with the Ugandan government, and many institutions make no attempt to trace the families of the children in their care. A recent study suggested that up to 85% of children living in institutional care do in fact have families. I lost my dad when I was 7 months old, and I lost my mum when I was 5 years old. I come from a family of 9 children. I'm the youngest. At the age of 7, my brother and I were sent to an institution, an orphanage, and I've lived there since then, and I only left the orphanage when I was 18. I had family back home, but I only saw them once a year. There was no real attempt by the orphanage or the government to reset me back with my family. And still hurts up to now that I lost that bond, because I think I lost something I would never get back. We are on our way now to an open door, and I hope to see something better than my experience, and I hope they're doing a better job at trying to find families for these children. An Open Door is a care home based in Mengo and is run by Caroline Komukama. It originally opened as a traditional orphanage, but has now developed a new strategy which focuses on resettling children back with birth or adoptive families.
Thank you, Caroline, for showing me around the home.
My pleasure.
It certainly looks very good, and I'm very impressed with the work you're doing. The reason I'm here today is because I grew up in an orphanage myself, and I found it a bit challenging, especially when it came to the fact that I had family but I wasn't resettled. And I wondered if you guys are doing it differently.
When we started, we were more institutionalized because
In the sense
that we weren't letting children out. We saw a plight of street children, and we said, no, they need to be somewhere. But over time, 3 years, 4 years later, we realized that institutionalizing children has more effects than you can think. So we developed different programs. It is clear that every child needs a family, needs an identity, needs a belonging, and needs a culture.
Studies have shown that institutional care is damaging for children. It can cause delays in physical, emotional, and psychological development, and it is scientifically proven that a child loses 1 month of development for every 3 months spent in an institution. The Ugandan government is working towards ensuring all orphanages operate a program that involves tracing family members for children and resettling them back into their community where possible. It is only if biological families can't be found, or it is unsuitable for a child to return home, that fostering an adoption should be considered to ensure that the child is still able to grow up in a family setting.
We do a lot of work to be very sure that the child does not have any parent available or living in Uganda or anywhere, so that they are actually total orphans, if I'd put it that way. And that's when we fund a child for adoption.
How do you look at your children, the children that you have here? Are they part of a family, or do they know that, this is temporary and I'm going to get out of here soon? Or how do you do it with children? Because surely they must ask questions.
We explain to them that there's a place better than an institution where you will have your potential maximized, where you will grow to become. So we explain, especially to those who are 10 years and above.
This sounds very honest, and I think I really appreciate your honesty with the children, because what happened most of the time, I was told I was going to a boarding school when I was actually taken into an institution, and it was much harder finding out later that I was in an institution than it would have been, I think, if I'd been told in the first place. So I appreciate the honesty, but I really appreciate the work. It sounds like you're doing a great job. So
Thank you very much.
if you don't mind, can I just speak to the children and see what they think?
I have no problem with that.
What Caroline has told me sounds really promising, but I'm still keen to find out what the children living at an open door are hoping for in the future. This is Joseph. He is 15 years old and has been at an open door for 9 years. And what would you like to do in the future? Would you like to stay here, or if you had a new family, would you rather go to the family?
I would rather go to my family.
I see. I understand they've done the traces and they can't find a family. So what would you think would be the next better alternative? Do you think staying here would be better, or could they find somebody else who would like to take care of you?
If it's possible, if they can find someone, I can be with that person.
Okay.
Peter is 15 years old and has been at an open door for as long as he can remember.
So Peter, you told me you've been here since you were a baby. How have you found it being here?
It's not bad.
Okay.
It is good because they are taking care of us.
Okay. Is this the best you think you could get out of a family, or do you think there is more? Like, do you feel like you're missing something?
Yeah,
What are you missing?
a family.
Despite their circumstances, it is clear that these boys have not lost the desire to be a part of a family, and I wish them both the best.
It's great that an open door have changed their strategy and are trying to resettle and find families for children. But what about the hundreds of other orphanages operating within Uganda? I'm on my way to Zambia to visit a community project that works with displaced children and tries to provide them with the stability they need. Kaida was set up by Faison Sibuga. Having grown up in the area, he saw firsthand the problems faced by the increasing number of children growing up without families. I'm interested to know more about the work that they do and how they go about resettling children back to their communities.
Our main target are the street children from the streets, and the mission is to reintegrate them into communities. We have been here since 1995, and our place is not like an institution because we don't believe in institutions. Because these children don't belong to institutions, they belong to families, to the communities. That's why we don't have a gate around our place, such that when we bring them, they are easily integrated within the community. They can easily interact with the community children such that they know how the community behaves. So we believe that children should stay with their relatives and the communities, not in institutions. We tell them, for us here, this is not a home. This is like a journey back to your community or back to your relatives. But when we are talking with the families, we assess the situation at home. What needs does the child need to stay in the home? You may find that a family is very poor. They don't have money to afford to pay for school fees or to feed the kid. So we try to close those gaps that can that led the kid to leave the family.
What I really liked about Kaida and the work that Faison is doing is that he successfully manages to resettle children without the need to keep them in an institution. What people don't realize is how damaging institutional care can be to children. Orphanages are seen to be as the best place for the child because they're looked after by professional carers, but the child cannot get as much individual care in an institution as they would in a family. The Children's Act states clearly that children should only be placed in institutional care as an emergency measure, and orphanages that keep children resident for long periods of time without attempting to resettle them into a community are working outside of Ugandan law. I've managed to get some time with Assistant Commissioner for Children, James Kabogoza. He has agreed to talk to me about what the government plans to do to safeguard the futures of children who are growing up like I did. I've been to 2 organizations this morning that are trying to help children and try and help them with alternative care. And I thought I would seek your opinion because I think there is too many organizations out there that are not doing the same thing as the organizations I saw this morning are doing. There is too many children staying in institutions for too long. And I wondered what your message would be.
Well, the government of Uganda's position is that we should use institutions as the last resort. Children should, as much as possible, be placed within the communities. If they are not staying with their families, then we have to find alternative families within the community to keep them through fostering, or guardianship, and adoption. We have developed an alternative care framework which specifies what to follow when you're actually helping children that need extra care. And these guidelines are facing the fact that we should move children from the institutions, resettle them back with the communities, and strengthening the families and the communities to be able to look after them.
But statistically, recently, about they published that about 85% of children in institutions actually have family. So how do you think that happened?
And the assessment actually brought out the fact that 85% of the children who are currently in the institutions are actually children that have families, and they can be resettled, and we support the families. So one of the things we're doing right now, we are running a campaign for alternative care, stressing the fact that we should move the children back. We are going to work with the districts, our probation officers in the districts, so that the campaign runs. The second thing we are planning is that we are going to close some of the homes and resettle the children back in their communities. But for some of them, they may still remain, but we'll remove those children who think that are not meant to be in the institutions, and will take them back to their families with the support of our officers in the district.
Most of these organizations and institutions are surviving on donor funds. And these donors think that they are helping by sending lots of money to these organizations. What kind of message would you send to these donors?
My message to the donors is one, that children are better off when they are actually supported within the communities. If you use a family-centered approach, you can be able to support even more, and you can cover a lot of support, because you have to strengthen the family, and the amount of money you have to put in to support that is far less than what you put in maintaining a child in an institution.
It's been fascinating learning more about how things have progressed since my time in institutional care. I'm pleased that the government is starting to regulate orphanages, and I'm hopeful that we will start to see some significant improvements in this area. Some great work is being done, but much more is needed. I'm hopeful for the future and would love to think that the next generation of Ugandans will grow up in a loving and supportive family setting. But for that to happen, everyone, governments, communities, donors, orphanages, and even families have to play their part.